Why trying things on your own is important, not just for OCD recovery, but anything in life. Let me explain why that is the case. That is the case because for things to change and for progress to happen, it requires risk. Risk is attached to anything that you do. Of course, there's higher amounts of risk in some things and lower amounts of risk in other things, right? But with OCD recovery, you are not going to know whether you're on the right path. You're never going to get 100% certainty on that, okay? We can advise you. We can guide you. We can give you really good advice on what helps with OCD. However, if you just sat back and let me, for example, do all the disputing for you, well, that's not going to work. I can give you knowledge on that. I can help you. I can give you pointers. I can direct you. However, I cannot sit down and physically dispute for you. It's the same with changing behaviours. I can tell you how much compulsions aren't working. I can tell you how much seeking reassurance and confessing and venting and doing all unhealthy addictive behaviours. I can tell you how that's not working, but I cannot physically make you stop them. And when we realise that, when as OCD sufferers we start realising that, a huge change starts to happen because we get into the mindset of, right, I'm now in charge of my emotional destiny. I can now control what behaviours I decide to do and what black and white rigid beliefs I decide to cling on to, right? That's not to say, oh, just go away on your own and work it all out. Of course not, all right? And it's important to reach out for help when you are struggling, of course, to get that initial guidance, to get that initial advice, to walk the steps with you. Of course, that's very important. But the point of this video is that just because you're having one-to-one calls, it doesn't mean that, oh, Sam will do all the work for me. That's not how it works. I can set you exposures. I can point you in better ways of disputing and breaking down your core fears and changing your perspectives and applying gratitude, but I can't physically do it for you. I can't make you do it. I can't physically change how you see something. I can give you loads and loads of perspectives and different beliefs of looking at something and breaking stuff down, but quite often I hear, yeah, but Sam this, yeah, but that, yeah, but that's not going to work for me. I can see where you're coming from, but I disagree. Well, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, the point is still valid. There's still substance behind what I'm saying because it's very rational. It's very flexible. It's a preference. It's not very black and white. It's not rigid. It's not absolutistic demands. Okay, so whether you agree with it or not, the advice is usually very sound. Okay, and that's very important. So, because I often hear this all the time, people will just sit back and go, Sam, can you do that? Oh, Sam, what do you think, Sam? What exposure? Which is fine, but then it's everyone is sort of asking me each time, which is okay. However, the issue is you can start looking at your own exposures. You can, because but if I look back on my journey, I can think, right, what's really gonna trigger me? What's really gonna push me out of my comfort zone? What's really gonna scare me? So I had to go towards that. And the reason I say this is because people, and this is very subtle reassurance, because people will only go, okay, Sam said this, so I'm going to make sure I do it and then just know it's OCD. But the biggest leap of taking that risk and jumping out of our comfort zone is doing something even though it might not be the best thing to do. Okay, and what I mean by that, even if it was detrimental to your recovery, even if it wasn't the most accurate exposure, it's you taking that risk and you deciding for yourself what's going to help me. Okay, that is so important because the biggest thing that helped me change my mindset on that was, let's say, there was no coaches, there was no channel, there was no WhatsApp groups, okay? Let's say it all just disappeared, right? You couldn't just sit back and rely on me to tell you something, oh, yeah, dispute this, oh, yeah, write this belief down, oh, yeah, do this shame attack, do that exposure, okay? You wouldn't have that there. So this is why it's important to be very accountable for our own suffering and for also our own journey and recovery process. Okay, because you don't have to have the green light from me to change an addictive behaviour. If you're drinking, for example, for relief, to escape a feeling, you don't need to hear it from me to tell you to stop. You know deep down to stop that. Okay, you know long term that's not helping you at all. It's the same with compulsions. Lots and lots of people know that it's not helping them, that it's holding them back. However, they'll just wait for me or any of the coaches to say, stop doing that compulsion, even though they know that. Okay, this isn't to say never seek advice again. Of course it's not, but it's not everything. Oh, I only do what Sam says. Okay, it's taking that leap of faith on our own, taking that risk on our own. It's like any decision in life, any decision, because indecisiveness is a very common trait, especially in OCD sufferers, because the responsibility aspect is usually jacked right up. Oh my God, if I make the wrong decision, I won't be able to cope. I won't be able to accept myself. I won't be able to live with myself. I won't be able to face the consequences of the wrong decision, okay? I was a very indecisive person, and ahhing. Do I do this? Do I do that? And I thought, right, I need to work on that. So I got into a good habit of making quick decisions, just little ones like going to a restaurant, going to a cinema, and picking something off the menu very quick, picking a film very quick. Maybe just meeting with a friend and go, yes, go here. Just that, having that quick decision, not just going, right, what about this? Yeah, but that's not going to work. Because otherwise you then make no decision because you're scared of making the wrong decision. And when you start seeing things that, even if I made a mistake, even if you make a mistake whilst you're disputing, even if I made a mistake whilst I was disputing, or just maybe got compulsive with it, or maybe slip back into compulsions or slip back into avoidance, I can see that as, right, that is something I need to change. That is something I need to improve on, okay? And the point of that, and the bottom line of that is, no matter what mistake it is, no matter what weakness it is, no matter what you've done, no matter what you might have messed up, no matter if you've fallen back, had a setback, try and see it as an opportunity to grow, to change, to improve, to get better, okay? That is a life-changing mindset, because you have a fearless attitude, because you're not terrified of making the wrong decision. I don't want to make the wrong decision. You don't want to make the wrong decision. Humans don't want to make the wrong decision, but we're humans, we're fallible, we're imperfect, so we are going to make the wrong decision. Trying to chase the perfect decision all the time and the perfect feeling isn't going to happen, and will be an endless pursuit. Okay, that's a very key point to remember. The most amount of growth, the most amount of improvement, the change, the reflecting, looking back on our behaviours, where we went wrong, where we could have done better, that comes from fucking up, excuse my language. That comes from messing up. That comes from making mistakes. That comes from going back, going forth, going back, going forth, okay? So not being scared of doing the wrong thing is very, very important, especially with OCD recovery, okay? Because people will ask questions like, Sam, I'm suffering with harm OCD, POCD, what's the core fears? Okay. Now, in the first couple of calls, I'd expect those kind of questions. But if you've had maybe 5 to 10 calls and you're asking those questions, I'd say, you tell me what the core fears are. Because I've told you many times what the core fears are. It's down to you to break them down. When we start identifying what we're scared of ourselves, that is huge, because we can see, right, that's holding me back. How do I dissect that irrational belief? How do I change that irrational belief into a rational belief, into a healthy preference? And how can I change my behaviours? When we are accountable, when we hold ourselves responsible for doing behaviours that's holding us back, that is how we're going to change. Because if you just blame everything else, if you blame me, if you blame any other coach, if you blame the president, if you blame the economy, if you blame your parents, if you blame your friends, if you blame your family, if you blame everyone else but you'll just play the victim, because, oh no, it's their fault. Oh, you didn't tell me unless it's your fault. Okay? That is very important, because we have to start looking at ourselves and going, where am I going wrong? Yes, I'm here to help you identify that and guide you towards that. Of course, that's what I do. That's my job. However, it's down to you to physically change. It's down to you to implement the advice we're giving you. It's down to you to put pen to paper and physically change. I'm not setting a shame attack for you for a laugh or for the sake of it. I'm setting it for you to go and change yourself and really see that all it is fear, an illusion. Fear is holding you back. Okay, it's like once you notice the monster's under the bed, you're not then checking under the bed looking for the monster. Okay, you were scared of it once, but once you realise it's not there, same with fear. Once you see that fear of rejection isn't as bad as once perceived, once you see as fear of losing connection, being in the wrong relationship, and fear of being stuck forever, once you see that that is just a barrier, mental barrier holding you back, that is when you will start making huge strides in OCD and anxiety recovery, but also life as well. Think of anything in life, anything. Doesn't have to just be OCD. Think of maybe a fitness goal that you set, a career goal, a financial goal, a relationship goal, a sporting goal. The list goes on, right? A weight loss, okay? You have to go and do it yourself. You have to take that risk. finding things out for yourself. Look at hobbies as well, okay? Hobbies, for example, I like researching a lot of advice. I like a lot of history, a lot of facts in the past, things that read a lot of books, things that I'm looking to learn from. Remember, when I was suffering with OCD, I didn't do any of that. I was just so caught up in my own mind, I didn't give a toss about any other thing, anything that didn't really interest me. Now I'm reading the book on the history of almost everything, and now it all just fascinates me. But if I was reading that 5 years ago, I'd have got past the first page and go, nope, don't care about that. All I care about is this thing 10 years ago. All I care about is intrusive thoughts. All I care about is the guilt I'm feeling, right? So OCD was taking that away from me. So now I'm really into learning new things. But the point is, and the point of this video, that I could be learning completely meaningless knowledge is going to get me nowhere. I could be learning research is going to get me nowhere, right? But A, I do it for fun, and B, I take the risk of, oh, if it doesn't get me anywhere, so what? Okay? So it's taking that risk. There's never this perfect structure. You could aim for a healthy balance and a healthy structure, but there is no just right, perfect way of doing things, okay? It involves messing up, fucking up, going wrong, making mistakes, and constantly reflecting, constantly learning. Ray Dalio's book, Nick is a big fan of Ray Dalio. His book, Principles, is a very good book for where you make mistakes and learning from that. And trying to prevent that in the future, but not seeing mistakes as a bad thing. Seeing them as a positive, in fact, a blessing in disguise. Because, like I've already said many times in this video, when you make mistakes, that is when change happens. That is when difference starts to happen. That is when you reflect on what you did wrong, because a lot of it is very subtle. A lot of it you don't know what you're doing wrong. And the same when you're being very black and white in your thinking, because it's so deep rooted. It's so almost feels subconscious in a way, saying things like, oh, that's awful, I can't stand this, oh no, I could never accept that, because we're used to saying those things in society and from a very young age. But once you realise that those kind of beliefs are the exact thing holding you back, preventing you from getting better, preventing you from living with freedom and not being directed by fear and consumed by fear, you'll then start realising, okay, I need to start changing those beliefs. But it's like the saying that I can take a horse to water, but I can't make it drink, right? And it's the same with one-to-one calls and webinars and WhatsApp groups, where we can give all the advice, we can give advice that's going to help with OCD, but we can't physically make you change. It is down to you to apply the work, apply the tools. Okay, it's very important. And it's not something that you're going to want to hear, because people may just want to talk about OCD and how bad it is and how negative it is. I could talk about that all day long, all year long, but what's the point? You'll rarely hear me be negative about OCD. I understand, I've lived it, I've fully experienced the cruelness of it, how difficult it is. I get that, okay, I've lived that. However, the reason I don't spend all my time talking about that is because it's a zero return investment. It gets you nowhere. It doesn't help you overcome the disorder, right? We can all sit here and moan about it, but how do we overcome it? All my energy is focused on overcoming, getting people better, improving, okay? Thinking of the long-term goal of perspective shifts, changing irrational beliefs. And if you feel better, if you recover from OCD, amazing. If that's a side effect, amazing. If that's a bonus, amazing. But the main thing is changing our beliefs, putting it into practice ourselves, and not just heavily relying on me or anyone else just to go, oh yeah, Sam will do that, Sam will say that, and that'll be fine, okay? It's taking what we say and going, right, how can I really apply that? Because application is very important. People get an insight into what bothers them, like the Albert Ellis quote. People have an insight into what bothers them, but don't do a damn thing to change. And that was a big eye-opener for me. That was like, oh fuck, I was one of those. So I could see what was bothering me, but I was so scared, I was so reluctant to do anything about it. Okay? So a very tough love message, but also a very, very important message. Okay, think about the application and how you're putting the practice into the tools that you learn. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you're interested in our one-to-one coaching services, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com or use the WhatsApp link in the below. Anyway, you take care and we'll speak again. Bye-bye.